Hi, good day. Now, let us talk about how to write the significance of the study. But first, let us know what is the meaning of the significance of the study. The significance of the study presents the importance of your research. It gives you an opportunity to prove that study's impact on your field of research. The new knowledge it contributes and the people who benefit from it.
The significance of the study is a written statement that explains why your research was needed. The significance of the study must be stated in your introduction section of your research paper. It is also a written statement that explains why your research was needed. It's a justification of the importance of your work and impact it has on your research field. Its contribution to new knowledge and on how others will benefit from it. Why is the significance of the study important? The significance of the study, also known as rationale of the study, is important to convey to the reader why the research work was important. This may be an academic reviewer assessing your manuscript under peer review, an examiner reading your PhD thesis, a funder reading your grant application, or another research group reading your published journal paper. Your academic writing should make it clear to the reader what the significance of the research that you performed was, the contribution you made, and the benefits of it. That's all.
Hi, I am Justin Lower Salas. Today, I will be discussing the scope and delimitation, a brief discussion of these topic areas, of its topic areas rather. So, scope and delimitation defines the topic and its boundaries, the problems that needs to be investigated. But by the way, the subject that uh, enshrined to me is identifying the methods of scope and delimitations of a good research paper. So, first we should understand the meaning of each terms that being used. So first, understand the meaning of what is the scope. So scope, this will serve as your parameters, the involvement by the nature of your research. This will determine your research questions. So it is very clear. So in scope, you should make your research questions. What should be the views of certain individuals, certain groups, or certain people, students, or whatever, etc. That must be. So the second is the limitation. So the factors and variables, but it is not directly included in your research paper, but it should be investigated as well. So, or rather, it should be in your research paper. So, I will give you the example later. The second that you have to be in mind, the term delimitation and limitation. So, limitation is the limit of what is your boundaries not to be included in your research paper, but the limitation that should be. So it is very clear. So when you say the limitation, it's the variables and the factors that matters. So in limitation, for example, your research is about students who are addicted of the numbers of students who are addicted of the current state of trends like internet, for example, internet. So you should not go for students who are like doing activities like this or like those. You should not do that. So that is limitation. So the limitation you should pick. So the factors state the factors, but it is not included to your research paper. So for example, discovers the students of grade 12, students of grade 12. So students who are not part of the group is not included. So that is the limitation. that is the brief declaration of delimitation. So we should go to guidelines to write the scope. The scope, yes, okay. So always consider these 6 questions. So why, which is the purpose, what, the subject that you want to be investigated. Third is where, the targeted location. So when the time frame. So kung saan nyo siya tapuson. So who, subject matters. So ang sino ang mga tao nga involved, ano nga mga topics ang dapat nimo i-present sa ila to that your research needs. So how? So the research to be conducted. So after you identify those, so you are able to write your scope and delimitation. So to start, use these 3 principles. This study focused on, this study covers the, and lastly, this study aims to. So that is clear, ha? So now, I will be giving you the example of my research scope and delimitation before, when I was in high school, when I was in grade 12. So this is my scope and delimitation. This is how we wrote the scope and delimitation. By the way, this is a qualitative type of research. So the scope and delimitation, this study will focus on the grade 12 students of Dr. Vicente F. Gustillo Memorial National High School taking Humanities and Social Sciences class. This covers the view of students from the current political stand on the West Philippine Sea. This aims to promote awareness and resiliency on political matters. So next, this is also the aim. So this aims also to use this research paper from future studies by the teachers, students, and etc. So next, so this is what I've said earlier about the delimitation. So senior high students who are not part of the group shall thereafter excluded from this occurrence. So I hope you learned something. Thank you very much.
Now let us talk about the guidelines on how to write the scope and delimitation of the study. But first, let us tackle about the guidelines on how to write the scope. A good scope statement will answer the following 6 questions: why, what, where, when, who, and how. First, why? It means the general aims and objectives, purpose of the research. Number 2, what? The subject to be investigated and includes the variable. 3, where? The location or settings of the study, where the data will be gathered and to which entity the data will belong. When? The time frame within which the data is to be collected. 5. Who? The subject matter of the study and the population from which they will be selected. This population needs to be large enough to be able to make generalizations. 6. How? How the research is to be conducted, including a description of the research design. Here, we will now talk about the guidelines on how to write the delimitation. Since the delimitation parameters are within the researcher's control, readers need to know why they were set, what alternative options were available, and why these alternatives were rejected. For example, if you are collecting data that can be derived from 3 different but similar experiments, the reader needs to understand how and why you decide to select the one you have. Your reason should always be linked back to your research question. As all delimitation should result from trying to make your study more relevant to your scope, therefore, the scope and delimitation are usually considered together when writing a paper.